Adrian Turner to open today's event.
Before I start, I'd like to pay my respects to the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional owners of this land, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and future. Data61, we're young, we're a startup ourselves. We've been around for 2 years, just celebrated our second year birthday, and we're here for the country. And we think that we're at a pivotal time as a country where we're going through this digital and data transformation, and every aspect of every industry is becoming data-driven. And if we get this right, we think that this is a $315 billion GDP opportunity for Australia over the next 10 years. And where we're coming from and what we believe is that the real opportunity is at the intersection of digital and domains or other industries. And the work that the team's done to date really exemplifies that, and the reason we're here today exemplifies that as well. So we do work that spans machine learning and AI, cybersecurity, robotics, and other areas. And what we're doing is developing a new model of innovation that's an open innovation network that connects into universities. We've got a single relationship with 30 of them, connects into industry, large companies, small companies, and connects into government. And we're innovating ourselves. The model itself now is being replicated by 3 other countries in the world, and OECD is about to case study it as an exemplar in the world for a new type of model. For this particular work, there's a few people I'd like to thank, but also acknowledge that the project receives support not only from CSIRO and a couple of the CSIRO programs like the Kickstart initiative, but also receives support from the New South Wales government, the Jobs for New South Wales program. And the Accurait team also benefited from a CEIF program that CSIRO administers. So it's a great example of the public sector coming together with the private sector to jumpstart and create new value, both at an industry level but also for the country. And I know that this is what really fires up the team at Data61, to know that the work that we're doing is having an impact for an industry partner or for government, that it's going to make a difference in the world. That's why the team gets up every morning. So look, I'm pleased to be here. Stephen and team, thank you for the work that you've done as well. I wish the company all the best, and we'll be watching from the sidelines and here to help further in really any way that we can. So thanks very much.
We're honoured to have Bill Ferris as our next speaker. Bill Ferris chairs Innovation and Science Australia and is Australia's first venture capitalist to be appointed the chair of the Innovation and Science Australia Board, which is an independent body established by the government to enhance Australia's innovation performance. Bill is a champion of the commercialisation of research discoveries and inventions. Innovation is critical to economic development and a key driver of our economy. A former chair of Austrade, and for 12 years the chair of the Garvan Institute of Medical Research, Bill is a highly respected veteran of venture capital and private equity in Australasia. He has extensive experience in the venture capital field and founded Australia's first venture capital firm in the 1970s. Bill has been a key advisor developing the government's innovation and science agenda. His former recent directorships and awards are too numerous to mention in the time allocated. He has authored 3 books, holds an honours degree in economics from the University of Sydney, and a Master of Business Administration from Harvard Business School, where he graduated as a Baker Scholar in 1970. Bill was made an Officer of the Order of Australia in 1990 for services to the export industry, and in 2008 was made Companion in the Order of Australia for his philanthropic activities as a leader in support of medical research and his role in the establishment of the private equity sector in Australia. Please make Bill feel welcome.
Well, it's a great pleasure, Adrian, to be back on your campus here, Data61. Adrian is kind of like the hope of my side, I think, for the innovation future of this country. A fantastic contribution with his team and 600 plus PhDs, I think, in the Data61 constellation. And really one of the great enablers of, indeed, our nation's innovation performance. And of course, today we're here really to celebrate the achievements of Lease Info and the launch of Accurait, a brilliant new business intelligence potential, a new product. It's always exciting, a business intelligence software product. The company is the brainchild of co-founders Simon and Petra Fontaine, a startup in 2005, and never a struggle, just went on with like no problems, and has achieved great scale and reputation in its as a sophisticated provider of retail leasing data. So Simon and Petra, you must be very proud of what's being achieved by your partners and colleagues and you guys in the room today. And I look forward to hearing more about Accurait and indeed its global prospects, hopefully, during the course of the day. Because it does seem not just another incremental shift, it looks like to me a step change opportunity in service delivery, the sophistication of service delivery in your sector. Innovation and Science Australia, as Petra said in the introduction, is an independent statutory advisory board that I chair. It's populated by essentially a bunch of private sector practitioners in innovation. So we like to think of it not as a bureaucracy, but a get on with it sort of action place. We were asked by government to develop a strategic plan for how this country could dramatically lift its innovation performance by 2030. And so we set about that and produced a plan which we delivered to government earlier this year, and it was called Australia 230, Prosperity Through Innovation. That word that no politician fears to mention and that I insist on keeping talking about. Everywhere in the world, people are happy to talk about innovation, and we will be here. We've got to keep pounding it. We identified 5 overarching imperatives that would need to be tackled if Australia was to have a reasonable crack at becoming a truly innovative nation in the top tier of nations, which is ISA's vision for what's needed and what we can become. And these were imperatives that you would need to tack if you're after a sustainable prosperity less dependent upon the abundance of our natural resources, the wonderful and very efficiently worked natural resources, but for a sustainable prosperity out to 2030 and beyond. We wanted an economy and a society less dependent on that and increasingly driven by the inventiveness and our own ideas and the translation of those ideas into the marketplace. I'm not going to bang on in detail about that report, but I will just mention, the basic headings for those imperatives won't surprise you, but number 1 was about education, educating our kids with what will be relevant out in 2030. Number 2 was about industry improvement, accelerating investment in innovation to drive many, many more high-growth companies and jobs. Number 3, about government being more innovative, developing innovation in the way you develop policy and deliver it. Mind you, in Canberra, they're being fairly innovative in the last few days, aren't they? I haven't seen it before. And in service delivery, and in procurement practices, and in access to their data, other people's data, and the curation of that, and much more. Number 4 was about research and development, driving greater translation of our research discoveries into the marketplace, which, as Adrian said this morning, gets his people up in the morning. That's what they want to do. That's what we all want to see a heap more of. And number 5 was about culture and ambition, creating in this country a national culture of innovation, a love for and a respect of excellence in science and excellence in commercialisation, showing what our science and researchers can do to solve big problems for ourselves and for people around the world. Adrian mentioned briefly the genomics and precision medicine evolving fantastic frontier of knowledge and technology, etc. It was in fact a national mission that we recommended be undertaken by government, led by government, and I'm pleased to say that that is underway with a now 550 million initial allocation, and I think it's a fantastic opportunity. We made 30 recommendations relating to those challenges, those 5 headings of challenges, and I thought just using Lease Info's demonstrable journey and success, I'd mention just to make a reference to a couple of those recommendations. We examined the dilemma that you will know about, and I think generally across the population it's now recognised that we've got this reputation and hard evidence of the high quality of our research and discovery on the one hand, and a mediocre record of translating that fantastic research and discovery into the marketplace on the other hand. So and there are a number of reasons we've looked at for this failure, but one standout was the relatively low level of collaboration by business with publicly funded universities and other research organisations in this country. So relative to our competitor nations worldwide, we've got manifestly low rates of PhD in executive exchanges. I just heard from Simon that he now has PhDs on board in Lease Info. That's unusual in Australia. Unusual. I came across a study the other day by Grant Thornton, and they were looking at the composition of boards in the S&P 1,500 companies, and looking at, and they found that 40% of those companies have professors in the boardroom. And I thought, God, how many do we have on the ASX list, with professors? I don't think any of the companies would admit it, but there'd be about, a handful, one hand. And yet when I was talking to the G of 8 group the other day, there were about 140 faculty in the room from the 8 sandstones, plus University of Auckland. I did a survey, hands up, who of you have been on boards? 2, hands went up. And then I said, next question, if invited, how many of you would genuinely be interested to accept an invitation to go on an ASX public company board? 2/3 went up. I thought, what a ridiculous waste of opportunity here. There's a great startup here, like seekacademia.com or something, that we could drive the domain strength into boardrooms. And the boards don't know about these people, and vice versa. It's a bit curiously Oz. Sweet, really, but not very effective. So in addition, we have to that other reasons, low level of business investment in higher education. By comparison, very low level of investment. And we have an RDTI, a Research and Development Tax Incentive, major government program, which neither mentions nor requires or generates collaboration. Lease Info's development of the Accurait platform into the marketplace is clearly an example of what collaboration can achieve. An innovative SME, small company, a highly skilled and motivated data science research group like Data61, an amazing resource that you can tap into, and lubricated creatively by CSIRO funding programs and, as you mentioned, Adrian, New South Wales, bless them, state government funding. That's successful collaboration writ large. And God knows we need a lot more of it. I've expressed a view on a number of occasions that many of our universities now and other publicly funded research orgos like CSIRO and Data61, they're actually doing a lot better reaching out to business than business is doing reaching into academia. You look at the startup and accelerator activity on campuses today compared to just 5 years ago, really active, really exciting, national, fantastic. And I think it has been helped by the government's introduction of an important new criterion in how you allocate research grants. So the block grants now have to, the recipients have to demonstrate industry engagement in a way that they haven't been required to previously. So that's a help. And it has affected, importantly, behaviours in the Vice-Chancellor's offices down. Our ISA's recommendations for reversing a really disappointing downward slide in business investment in R&D have not yet been accepted by the government. There seem to be some distractions at the moment. But this problem has to be urgently addressed, and I did go to some length to stress that at the recent Australian Financial Review Investment Summit, and I'm certainly not going to bang on about it again today, but it's a really big issue for this country right now. Another of ISA's recommendations was about prioritising a national capability in AI and in artificial intelligence and machine learning. And the good news is that more is happening in the AI ML space than meets the eye. Even people's understanding that these things exist compared to 12 months ago or 24 months ago. Although Australia's spend on AI is dwarfed by China, USA, European nations, there are nonetheless some important and exciting things happening. Companies are accelerating their awareness of AI, and the estimate I got of ASX-listed companies' engagement is now 8% of the companies on the exchange are actively investing in and trying to learn about AI and ML technology. The percentage of US companies is close to 25% already. Since the release of our Australia 230 report, the government announced a $30 million funding to enhance national capabilities in AI and ML, including a special new stream in the CRC, the Cooperative Research Centre's project stream of funding, and for a Data61-led development of an AI roadmap. In addition to that roadmap, by the end of this calendar year, I can tick off these activities happening. An AI Horizon Scan report by ACOLA, the Australian Council of Learned Academies, that's the correct ACOLA. And also AI is doing an ethics framework. This is essential we get this right. I think Alan Finkel's pretty involved with that as well, the chief scientist. The AI Standards Report led by Standards Australia, and the Digital Economy Strategy led by the Department of Industry, Innovation and Science. So these are encouraging initiatives, and ISA believes, I certainly believe, that it's essential that the thought leadership that goes on with all of this embraces the approach which will allow and encourage very wide sharing, data sharing. Both public and industry-driven R&D should unlock the potential for data linkage, which in turn will support the global competitiveness, the opportunity for that competitiveness among innovative Australian companies. Limiting data access there's a big political risk that you take the line on privacy and ethics and all of the troublesome issues that worry voters, and you just tighten up and you don't provide access meaningfully. That's a huge risk looking through the prism I have to look through in my task as chair of ISA. The prism of innovation, we need access. Companies, innovators, researchers, we need secondary use of data, yes, properly protocoled and protected, but you think about the potential for de-identified health data and where it can and should and will lead to new therapies and new breakthroughs. It's essential we keep open, not shut, on data access, including my health record. So once again, Lease Info presents a very clear example that although Australia will remain dwarfed in terms of macro spend on AI, it is nonetheless possible for us to focus on valuable market niches globally. Accurait is demonstrating this potential, and as I understand it, should get the opportunity to roll out this service globally. So I've banged on enough, Petra and Simon, but as I said before, you and your partners and colleagues here today provide a splendid example of just what's possible if innovative entrepreneurs do collaborate with the best and brightest of our researchers and scientists. Everything's possible. And so again, can I congratulate you, wish you best wishes for the launch and success of Accurait. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you so much for making your time available this early on a Thursday morning. There are many people I would like to thank. First of all, I would really like to thank Bill Ferris, AC. Let's face it, Australia is bloody lucky to have someone like him to basically champion our cause. Also, Bill is one of my true inspirations. I've heard him talk on numerous occasions about the importance of collaboration between business, government, industry and academia. And this really led to me pursuing this collaboration with Data61. So I do owe it to Bill, and I'm very, very appreciative of his time. I would also like to thank Adrian Turner, CEO of CSIRO's Data61, for making the time this morning. And also a special thank you to Warren Brady from Data61. Warren is the head of strategic accounts and fintech services. He's also encouraged me on numerous occasions, and I thank him for providing this great venue for this launch. Further thanks to Jason Barkler and his team at CSIRO SME Connect for their generous support in co-funding our research. Believe it or not, Accurait is one of only 25 companies in Australia to receive a PhD grant to have our own full-time PhD in-house. So it's really an honour to be part of that group. Thank you also to the amazing researchers at Data61, led by Stephen Wan, Cecile Paris, Dr. Shaukat Abidi and Savnaz Karimi, who all worked on building our AI platform. They really are a sort of hidden gem of talent. Lastly, to our super hard-working team. This would not have been possible without their huge effort over many years. There are numerous people to thank, and I can't name everybody, but specifically I would like to thank Mark Moffat and Tony Lee, Foundation team members, Dr. Roger Cohen on our advisory board, Mark Twist, Ray Milker, Chong Chang, Prajwal Rao, and Ilan Joffe from the University of New South Wales Technology Campus, Nicole Friedman, Victoria von Bernard, Bassem Mansour, Richard Hardy, Patricia Vasilevska, and Dina Zakharov. I would also especially like to thank my wife Petra, who is not only my wife, but she's also my business partner and best friend, and who's encouraged me to pursue my business dreams from the outset. We founded LeaseInfo back in 2005 and have grown it to be the largest online provider of retail leasing data in Australia. Then, in January 2016, we were advised of a global lease accounting change called IFRS 16. Sounds like a disease, doesn't it? IFRS 16. This change required virtually all commercial leases around the world to be capitalised on balance sheet. This would affect a staggering US $2.8 trillion worth of assets. I had a vision that this global challenge in implementing IFRS would be the same internal challenges that we faced. I believe that if we could provide an automated lease extraction solution, it would have global application. That was the start of our commercialisation journey. However, whilst Accurait is the name of our platform, our early attempts to solve this challenge were anything but that. We started with optical character recognition, known as OCR, which makes text from PDFs searchable. We built literally hundreds of templates to try and cater for every type of lease. Unfortunately, we realised pretty early on that OCR by itself was not going to cut the mustard, because Australian leases, thanks to our wonderful lawyers, have every single data point in different spots, and it's impossible to create templates. We can then really thank the federal government for their very generous support via an SME Connect Kickstart grant, which enabled us to engage with Data61, regarded as world-leading experts in AI. I recall our first meeting fondly at Data61, and I was really excited but somewhat apprehensive. After over 10 years of collecting lease data, I was sure we were in the box seat to now make this data work for us. I also realised I had very limited knowledge of AI. When I first met Dr. Stephen Wan, I said that a typical lease agreement is between 60 to 80 pages. This was his response. Well, Simon, we probably need between 3 and 4 million pages to train the AI on. I knew then that was going to be a huge challenge for us, but I felt we were up to the task, and thank you to our entire IT team who went to work hooking up every single computer in our office and turned each one into a mini server. We were processing text versions of over 50,000 leases and on weekends until we built this massive training database. A huge thank you to Richard Spink and Jen Seligman, who basically coordinated the process, and to also Mark Moffat, who lost a lot of sleep in doing that. By October 17, we had a working AI model, and when combined with our rules-based system, we had the basis of a minimum viable product. We are truly fortunate to have a long-standing relationship with Rachel Bessis from Swarovski, who saw potential in our idea and agreed to be our first beta tester. Rachel has a lot of industry expertise and has previous knowledge in user experience testing. Rachel provided us with great feedback and said whilst the AI model was effective, it still needed work to be commercially viable. By late 2017, thanks to a lot of further hard work, we received 2 very important further grants. One from the CSIRO called STEM CEIF, allowing us to hire a full-time PhD, Dr. Shaukat Abidi, and a grant from the New South Wales Government under Jobs New South Wales called Tech Vouchers, to allow us to conduct further research on new AI techniques to improve our platform. And Rachel will show one of those examples in her talk. In January 2018, we received another grant from the New South Wales Government to help us fund our minimum viable product. And we went live in July after receiving our patent through FB Rice. Thank you also to Josip and Than from Jobs New South Wales, who are here in the audience, who worked with us today to get our grant. So, what have I learned from this AI journey? I've got to be honest, now that I know what I know, I can say with 100% certainty that machines are far more efficient than humans are in processing text from leases for 3 main reasons. Machines can absorb text-based data at speeds thousands, if not millions times faster than humans. For example, Accurait can read a lease front and back, which it does, for a typical 60 to 80 page document in approximately 60 seconds. Secondly, the memory recall is instantaneous. Accurait uses an inverted index, which tags the location of each word on each page, something that a human could never do. And lastly, computers learn a lot faster than humans can. Thanks to this collaboration, Australia is now at the global forefront of AI for commercial document extraction. Whilst we develop the system for retail leasing, Accurait has huge application for other types of lease documents which we're working on, including equipment, vehicle and franchise agreements, mortgage documents and loans. To my knowledge, there are possibly less than 10 companies in the world that can combine AI for lease data extraction with the IFRS lease calculations. We have a huge local and global opportunity to leverage our technology. We can provide real solutions that save our clients time and money, create efficiencies and reduce risk. We have the best research scientists from Data61, together with our own dedicated team of leasing and IT experts. Global competition is now starting to enter the Southeast Asian market, and we must continue to be agile and deploy considerable financial resources to stay ahead of the pack and reach our full commercial potential. So I'll now do a short live demo of the product. However, if you are interested in more information or your own private demo, please visit the website on the screen. Richard Hardy, where's Richard? Put your hand up. And Jen Seligman are available after this launch to further take you through the product. So, what's so special about Accurait and why is it needed? After all, to quote Bill Ferris, we don't want to be a solution looking for a problem. We're a software house trying to solve a $2.8 trillion problem. The problem with the commercial leasing industry is it is document intensive, with leasing comprising multiple interrelated and often linked documents, including leases, agreements to lease, disclosure statements, fit-out and incentive deeds, assignments, transfers, subleases, etc., etc. Currently, this data is trapped in PDFs, or worse, in hard copy, and cannot be read or linked to databases without manual extraction. Globally, firms are now creating files at unprecedented rates. Global estimates indicate a staggering amount of corporate documentation is being generated and doubling almost every 90 days. These documents contain legally binding obligations, yet most businesses continue to manage these files through computer folders and subfolders, with no ability to link the rights and obligations contained therein to databases, accounting software, and other management tools. Whilst businesses go to extraordinary lengths to negotiate their leases, most businesses fail to track their key points of the deal, leading to huge losses in hours spent on back searching through documents and increasing their risk exposure to errors. So, Accurait is a cloud-based system hosted by Amazon Web Servers here in Sydney. Uploading documents to Accurait is really easy. Simply enter a meaningful document ID, browse the file on your network, and select. Total processing time per document is currently sitting at about 1 minute for a typical 80-page lease. Batch uploading can also be done by zipping multiple documents and uploading. Once you have uploaded your document, your main navigation window is the dashboard. As you can see, the lease we just uploaded is continuing to process, so to save time today, we have uploaded another lease in advance. To start reviewing and approving each lease, click on the hyperlink reference for that asset. Verifying the data is correct is now super easy. When the data first uploads into the system, you will notice that the technology has read the entire document and populated the required fields with information from the lease. You will also notice there are two coloured boxes. Amber means that the system has detected and predicted a result. Red means that the system has not detected a result, noting that this could be the right answer. For example, no market rent reviews. To check the data extracted for each field, simply click on the hyperlink field label for each data point. This takes you to the location within the PDF called a snippet on the right-hand side of the screen. Once you approve it, it is locked down, and that snippet can be exported to another system or emailed. You now have a linked data source. Another feature of Accurait is that it makes the PDF immediately searchable. So, if you need to double check something, just hit search, type in a keyword, and all the occurrences of that keyword will appear highlighted in the PDF, e.g. demolition clause. If you want to add your own fields and tag them, simply switch to backlink mode. Which allows you to tag any field to any location in the document. If we switch back to user mode, you will notice that this is now tagged. Accurait also allows you to link your leases to your sublease structures, such as variations, transfers, and subleases, so you have the correct lease hierarchy at all times. In this case, this lease has been varied several times, resulting in the deal being completely different from when it started. Once you have completed your approval stage, you can click on the Lease Summary page and it will create a summary including any lease variations, transfers, and subleases. Back on the dashboard, the graphs on the left show the breakdown of your document types. Clicking on the bars for each document type allows you to filter for those leases. The middle graph breaks the data down by region. Again, by clicking on the piece of the pie, you are able to get a filter of those leases by region. The last graph breaks down the various stages of approval of your documents. You can filter on the stage of completion, and each record has a progress bar to tell you what stage you are at in the approval process. So perhaps the most exciting part of Accurait, which we're working on, is something called global search. So global search uses an inverted index to be able to index every word to the page. So you will be able to pull out any key term of any relevant clause, such as, say, bank guarantees, and extract it. Where it has huge commercial application is for leases that have not been executed. Imagine going through and being able to detect clauses that should or should not be there before you actually sign the deal. You can also export to CSV, Excel, or via API to another approved system. If you are using our API export to lease management systems, My Portfolio, you can export the data and our systems will do the IFRS calculations for you. The system will then calculate your right of use liability and asset on a daily, monthly, or yearly basis. This can also be exported to other financial systems. The system is also being developed to read other types of leases, including franchise agreements, vehicle equipment, and mining. So again, that concludes my demo for today. If you have any further questions about functionality, please come and see Jen or Richard after the speech and they can arrange a subsequent demo. Thank you again for being here. We're very excited about the future possibilities of Accurait, and we look forward to delivering them for you.
Our next speaker is Rachel Bessis from Swarovski Australia. Rachel is the head of Market Development Australia and New Zealand, and is responsible for Swarovski's sustained revenue development through multi-channel distribution strategy, site acquisition, lease negotiations, property portfolio management, licensee acquisition, coaching and onboarding. Indeed, a very busy and big job. Prior to her 5 years plus at Swarovski, Rachel founded and led a successful European eyewear distribution company across Australia and New Zealand markets for 10 years. 7 years ago, Rachel also brought the global phenomenon Le Dîner est Blanc to Sydney. This event has become the largest pop-up dining event in Australia and the third largest globally. Rachel is an early adopter and one of the first customers taking the leading edge using Accurait. She's been testing and providing valuable feedback to improve and enhance the system's capabilities. Please welcome Rachel.
Thank you, Petra, and good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. As you heard from Petra, I've been at Swarovski for 5.5 years in the market development function. Prior to that, we didn't have a function like this, but it was realised that with the market rationalising, with the rise of online, that there needed to be a function that looked after the business a little bit more holistically from a location perspective all the way through to how the consumer receives at the end. Swarovski, I'll give you a little insight into Swarovski. It's one of the oldest privately owned retail companies in the world. It was founded in 1895 by Daniel Swarovski, who actually invented the machine that cuts crystal for jewellery. So innovation has always been at the heart, and technology has always been at the heart of our business, and we like to think that we continued this across the board in all areas of our business. Australia was one of the first markets for Swarovski to open a boutique, which was in Sydney's Centrepoint Tower back in the 1980s, and now we have over 70 locations across Australia and New Zealand. My role as the Head of Market Development leads the 4 functional pillars, which Simon mentioned, which is unusual. A lot of companies just have a property function, or they have a distribution function, or they have a store delivery team. All of those coincide within the one team. We believe it's a holistic way of managing the growth in a business and how we reach the consumer. Lease Info's databases we've been using since 2009. We started with My Portfolio. We use it to benchmark our network against the broader retail network of Australia, and it has really enabled us to be able to go forth in this new market, this new world, this new consumer world in a sustained way and still be able to continue to grow. You may know that retail leases have suffered, retail in general has suffered great loss recently with lots of businesses closing. This has happened globally. This is just a natural rationalisation of the market. But the only way to continue was to work out how to still be profitable in today's market. And one of the things that we noted, you've got 2 big costs. You've got people and you've got rent. And people, with the Swarovski model, for example, everything's behind glass. So in order to create an experience that is different to online, where you can have that human connection, you can be styled, the experience is a much more real experience. I think everyone today still wants to have that. We need to have people on the floor, and to cut that back just reduces the experience. And we noticed that in our retail KPIs, is that conversion went down as we tried to control human resources costs. The whole experience went down, how we displayed the product, the entire thing. And so we realised we had to hack away at leases, and this is something I've been working on. Simon was fantastic in helping me to build up my skill base to do this, and we've been able to hack at our portfolio quite significantly with some of the very large landlords in order to put us back into, I guess, an occupancy cost that we're comfortable with and that we know that we can continue to grow in a sustained, measured way to reach the consumers that want to deal with us today. One of the things is about being able to do these types of big portfolio reviews on a big scale is to have data at your fingertips. And having to pull that data together takes a long time, it takes a lot of resources. You need the competency to know what to look for in the data. One of the beautiful things about Accurait is that you can pull all that up at a fingertip. It's made my job very, very much more streamlined and efficient. It's enabled my team to get across this information quickly and pull it up, so it's a good learning tool for them, as well as being able to pull up that data at lightning speed. The other topic is risk, and a lot of the time this is something that we've dealt with implementing global heads of terms. So as a global organisation, trying to have some mandatory terms that we operate with across all the markets, and every market's different, But one of the things there is being able to measure that. And quite often, if you're processing a high volume of leases, it's difficult to stick to those terms. Sometimes things get lost or missed, etc. And this is the global search function that Simon talks about. The beauty of not being able to pull out all of the files and have to look up all the paperwork is that with Accurait we can just backlink to find any of the information that we need at our fingertips. The other topic is that it links into my portfolio, which is where all the portfolio of the leases lives. And again, it's reducing human error and creating an audit trail, which, as Simon mentioned with Ferris, finance is all over that and wants to hear a lot about it all the time. We estimate that using Accurait, it saves us about 30 minutes a month on every lease. So if we've got 72 leases currently, that's about 36 hours a month we think we're saving. That's 432 hours a year, and in excess of 2,000 hours for the average 5-year lease term. Apart from that being a massive time saving, it's the efficiency and the ability really to be able to challenge the status quo around that giant cost base that you have in your business and the risk that is attached to that. The second major benefit of Accurait is the way it manages the parent-child relationship of the leases and all the sub-documents. The more complex the lease negotiations get, the more documents that there tend to be. You've got your disclosure statements, your variations, your subleases, transfers, etc. And what Accurait does is it links all those together for you in all of its iterations, and you can track everything. One of the most exciting applications of Accurait, which I keep reminding Simon was my idea. When we get in a room together, we tend to have lots of ideas, and unfortunately it just keeps evolving and evolving. It's like, let's just catch up to where we're up to. Is this global search, document search capability. And as you can see in the attached screenshot, Accurait can index every clause in our lease portfolio and pull out and tag clauses. For example, air conditioning, bank guarantees, all sorts of things. We also use this search capability for due diligence, for leases that are under negotiation, to compare against, as I mentioned before, these mandatory requirements. Accurait will highlight the between these mandatory requirements, which as a result, in a global organisation, it means that you don't have to have a huge team of really highly competent people to be able to manage on a certain level the administration of these leases, and you can keep it in-house. I truly believe that Accurait is a really powerful tool for data lease extraction and management. And Swarovski, being a global company that continuously seeks to have improvements in technology and human capital. To us, this technology is not about replacing jobs. It's just making it. It's just making me and my team more efficient and being able to share best practice globally and have everyone in every market performing on the same level. And this is where I think maybe at some point we can get it across the line with the board as Swarovski in Europe is to implement this, and I think we've had our first meeting with finance trying to tackle that, so hopefully we can help you. Thanks so much for your time today, guys, and have a sparkling day, as we say in our organisation. Thank you.
Our final speaker today is Dr. Stephen Wan. Stephen is a researcher in computational linguistics, an interdisciplinary field that draws on both linguistics and computer science. He is interested in research that combines natural language processing, machine learning, information retrieval, and human-computer interaction techniques. With over 15 years' experience at CSIRO and Data61, he leads a team of software engineers and researchers to build novel information management and data analysis prototypes, focusing on text data ranging from social media to scientific literature. A common element for these systems is the need to extract actionable nuggets of information that will help with the user's task or information need. His team has developed systems used by both the government and private sector for areas such as business intelligence, social media monitoring, and information systems for scientific literature. Please welcome Stephen.
Thank you, Petra. Good morning, everyone. As Petra just said, my name's Stephen, and I'm a senior research scientist at CSIRO's Data61. Before I start, I'd like to also introduce a member of my team, Dr. Shaukat Abidi. Shaukat, do you want to stand up? So, Shaukat is the one that's working closely with Lease on the Accurait system. So Shaukat has been granted the CEIF STEM Plus Business Fellowship to work on this project, so we're very grateful for that indeed. So we represent a group of researchers and engineers here at CSIRO's Data61 who work with language technologies, and that includes natural language processing and information retrieval methods, for example. And one of the key areas of our research focuses on finding new methods to automatically mine and transform the text in electronic documents into that extracted knowledge that can form part of an automated system that can support business decision-making processes. So here, in our work with Lease in general, we are interested in methods to identify those parts of the leases that are relevant to some business needs. And you've seen some examples of that already. In some cases, it might be to help the user to browse to the relevant part of the lease. In others, it might be to pull out those nuggets of information in the document that correspond to the key fields that would be useful in a database application or in business modeling. We're very excited to be supporting Lease by providing the research skills to adapt the latest research advances so that they can be applied into the Accurait system. And it's a very exciting time to be doing applied natural language processing, with recent advances in machine learning showing great potential for the application of these methods in an industry setting, as we've just seen. But there are, of course, technical challenges in work such as this. To start off with, as Simon said, often the leases are stored in PDFs, and these aren't born digital. So, for example, they could be scans of signed documents, and these must be first converted into a form that the computer can manipulate from a language technology point of view. But what makes the language technology more interesting is that the technology must also contend with lease documents that represent a variety of complex structures, as Simon alluded to. And this is problematic as these structures can vary from state to state and company to company. So hand-coded rules won't work in the general case. Fortunately, though, there are many advances in language technology that we can build on. For example, information extraction technology. Tools such as named entity recognition can help identify elements such as dates or financial figures in the text. And so this is a really great, really nice foundation, really nice starting point for us to build on. However, for us to extract this information in Accurait, we need to not only identify these elements, but also determine how they should be interpreted. That is, we need to automatically determine what kind of date this is, or what kind of financial figure this is. And these are fine-grained types that need to be tailored to the business use case underlying the technology and the application, in this case, Accurait. So, for example, if Accurait picks out a date, it also needs to work out if this was a commencement date or an expiration date. If it picks out monetary value, it needs to determine if this was a base rent or a rent increase. For the human reader, of course, the surrounding text provides the relevant context to interpret what that element means. However, there are a myriad of ways in which that relevant context can be worded or formatted or structured. So again, this is not a trivial task that can be encoded by hand. But this is where we can apply natural language processing methods based on machine learning to help at the end of the day. And to do this, we need to learn from large data sets, as Simon said, of leases. So these are data-hungry methods. but they can help at the end of the day. And so these data sets provide many examples of the different structures that we're going to encounter as we apply the tool in a rail setting, and it will also cover the different types of language use that will be used from contract to contract. And so the machine learning methods, at the end of the day, they are attempting to try and find those patterns in the contextual data that can help us to identify reliably how those nuggets of information can be interpreted and how they can be used downstream in the rest of the Accurait system. So all this hinges on there being available data. I don't quite remember the exact words that I said to Simon, but I did say in that first meeting that these would be potentially data-hungry methods. But that's what makes this project such a compelling one. LeaseInfo were able to bring data sets to the table immediately, and they were keen to work with us to employ data markup processes to enrich these data sets with the annotations and the business-oriented metadata that are necessary for machine learning. So crucially, the metadata annotations that are used, these are chosen with the business needs in mind. And the annotations that are added to the data are the result of LeaseInfo's years of experience in the domain. And this gives us, at the end of the day, the right set of metadata for the machine learning that we have deployed in Accurait. For us, for Sharkat and myself and the rest of the team at CSIRO's Data61, our applied research scope is to then help to use that enriched data to build better and better models that can translate to an improved user experience with Accurait. And with the current rate of progress in machine learning, there are always new and interesting techniques that might be relevant to this work, and we're always looking at these. So an important part of our ongoing role is to help LeaseInfo to investigate the merits of these new methods and identify how these new approaches can then be rolled into the Accurait system. And this might be a combination of the leading approaches that will help Accurait maintain its competitive edge. Indeed, the research is strongly governed by business needs, and the deployment of the research into Accurait is the result of the hard work and combined efforts of both Accurait's wonderful software engineers and the researchers here at CSIRO Data61, who together decide on how to integrate and capitalize on those research outcomes. This makes LeaseInfo's and Data61 relationship a great one. It's a combination of that enriched data, the applied research know-how, the scope of work that's grounded in a very nice real-world application, the domain expertise of LeaseInfo, and Data61's collective experience in deploying applied research. So on the horizon, there are many research avenues to consider. We will prioritize these, of course, with LeaseInfo, who will no doubt be guided by what makes sense to the end users of Accurait. However, one area that shows promise is machine learning for natural language interfaces that might allow us to pose questions about a lease to the system and have the system generate an answer. So, for example, imagine if we could ask the system something like, who is responsible for the air conditioning maintenance? Which might be a piece of information that is needed as part of the business workflow. It might be interesting then to have the system automatically mine the entire contract to find that answer, which might be the leaseor is responsible, for example. But that's future work, and we'll save that for another day. For now, let me just say that we are very happy to have been part of the journey with LeaseInfo and congratulate them on the launch of Accurait today.